can design how big it is. Don't make it too big, not too small. Something that's visually easy to see and look at it. And then make it symmetrical on both sides. And add seam allowances to it. So make sure you have the seam allowances and it's symmetrical. And I'm just cutting it and then put it on the dress form as the centerpiece or the motif. You can design, half-inch seam allowances. Make sure you include the seam allowances as well. But you know exactly how big it is, how big, how small, kind of make it to look good. Too small, maybe not ideal. Too large, takes too much center of it. So something that looks good. And here it is.
You can look at the stage. Did you finish the pattern already? Yes. Just go on working on it. It's over there.
So something like this. So where exactly you place it, kind of not too high, not too high, not too low, but just right. So whatever you consider just right, it should not be too high or too low. Okay, so here's the motif now. And then you need this is really requires really big piece of fabric from selvage to selvage, and if it's a full length dress, it should be about 60 inches along the selvage measure. Large piece. And then mark the center of the fabric with the straight crane line here, and place this, make sure it will be plenty over. So the full length of the dress up to 60 inches, and then this crane line marking right in the middle of the princess panel here. So look at where the princess panel is, and this straight crane line in the middle, and make sure you have enough fabric over the dress form, really fully over. So this is the difficulty of the whole thing, is that you are working with massive amount of fabric. So this is what you need to kind of learn to deal with large amount of fabric. So here is the side seam, here is princess line, you can feel it usually, and right in the middle of the princess line is where we place straight crane line. So pin it firmly that it doesn't shift anywhere. Straight crane line, middle of the princess line, and pinned firmly into the dress form. No shifting. You don't want any of the crane line shifting anywhere. So often 2 pins is required to hold it. So 2 pins crisscrossed, and you probably have it firmly in. So here is now the first
So the line between
starting.
the side seam and the princess line.
Middle of the princess. Here's side seam, here's princess line, straight crane line in the middle of the princess panel, not the seam. So yeah, so here it is, and okay, so here it is. Now, once you have done that, there's a piece of fabric that you might need to take away already. So a couple of inches past the side seam, you can remove this part of fabric pretty much already. So here's the side seam, and a couple of inches past the side seam, and then we design where there's gonna be radiating pleats, radiating from this from
Diamond.
yeah, so from this center motif. So all the pleats are kind of radiating from different directions, and they end, the widest part of the pleat is here on this motif piece. So now first step is, where is the first pleat? So if we have 3 pleats here, 3 pleats there, how low would be the first pleat position? So that is the first step to design. So if here, somewhere perhaps a little bit above lower hip, so somewhere here maybe would be, it's kind of like this, maybe. So it ends here at the side seam. So what I can do here is slash the fabric to the side seam. So I can pretty much cut this lower part away roughly. So if this is side seam, I can cut it roughly away, something like that. And now it helps me to access side seam. So if I design that the pleat would start here, I need to slash to the side seam and then start forming out of this upper part these pleats. So here, so now I need the fabric from upper part. So it is a little bit overwhelming first, but be brave. Yeah, so here is where the pleat ends, on a little bit below upper hip, and this is where it's gonna be created too, from all this fabric above. So I start creating a pleat that ends at the side seam. How big the pleats are, again, I don't know quite quite yet. It's just that, so here is the end of the diamond, and I start creating a pleat that shifts the fabric towards left side and fold right here. I want to make it to end at the side seam. So okay, so here's the diamond, end of the diamond shape, can't have below it, just about. Could be something like this. So here it is, here's the first pleat, ending point, and then the widest part is right there at the motif. And now I can keep slashing the fabric from side seam area and design where the next pleat will be. And slash again, I slash to the side seam and start collecting fabric to the motif, shifting the whole thing over. So here it is, starts to form already. And good thing would be able to see through where the motif is. We need to see it through. You can also use pins, sank. Here it is. Here's the end of it. Here's the next pleat. Here, and same procedure, shifting, slashing, and shifting fabric and slash to the side seam. And now this one will be the third pleat, and again, once I shift the fabric over to the left, the pleat kind of naturally starts to form itself. And I will end the fold close to where the diamond shape has its corner. Okay, so now I have 3 pleats here. Three pleats. And now I need to slash to the center of the slash to here. So all this fabric I need to slash to the center of the motif. So from here.
Tina, can you turn the mannequin slightly? Thank you.
To the center, so yeah, the abundance of fabric is that makes it kind of hard to work with, but once you have the basic shapes established, it could be will be kind of easier. So here would be the center of the right here. Center of the motif. And now next is forming the upper pleats. So here's the fabric, here's the side seam. Side seam could be kind of smooth. This whole side seam would be smooth. In this area, waistline tightness should be removed. All the fabric, side seam will be smooth. All the fabric over towards left side. Okay, and now I can create the upper, so the upper pleats come from this fabric. From this fabric here, the upper pleats. They kind of look like they want to be formed, but not really very well quite yet. So how big they are, here's the motif. First one kind of is almost like a bust dart. Could be almost like a bust dart here. And then the second one, it's a little bit too high.
You know what I don't like about it? I don't like that it's not a hard cover. So that's what I have. You know, to like one of those covers, you need to get the book cover. So I take it out. That's why I keep mine in the cover that came in. In my pattern making textbook is like that. It's that soft paper cover. So I keep it in the bubble wrap cover.
Yeah, that's about
Because it was expensive.
right size. Another one has slightly different direction, maybe here towards the shoulder
Saturday?
and armhole.
It's on 30th. It's on the 30th. I gotta do. I have to take my daughter to RSM. Sunday.
And the last one,
10 to 11.
right.
11:30. My son has a meet, so my husband takes him there. Have to go check it out sometime. I'm so happy with this.
Okay, and this excess fabric can be removed if I mark the neckline. This is often V-shaped neckline, so if I have shoulder seam here, somewhere here, armhole, underarm, side seam area, and shoulder point. somewhere here would be the neckline. I can leave some extra fabric to that area to have self-facing. I can just roughly cut away whatever isn't needed. So if this is the shoulder seam, I could add self-facing here,
That's like, it's sort of like the dart.
maybe an inch.
Tina, there are no darts anywhere on this dress.
Nope.
This kind of takes the place of the darts, right?
Yeah, front doesn't have, when we have the back is kind of simple and easy, plain. You can have fisheye darts in the back. So self-facing could come out from the excess fabric here on the neckline.
Oh my god, it's starting to look pretty.
Yeah, this is kind of special. Okay, so now I can remove more fabric, and there will be like a cascade coming from, so it's pinning this.
I like
Sort of 1940s or 30s, huh?
I don't know.
It was a common
sculpted
style
dress.
in
Sculpted
charmeuse.
dress. Yeah, I'm not sure what era this is.
radiating stripes, gown with radiating stripes, right?
Yeah, that's in the book. This is called Sculpted Dress. Okay. Okay, so this one, what's left could be, so if this is,
Mm.
This one great if you have like a wheel back, like a really low one like that.
Like a cowl or just low?
Just plain. See, it has everything going on in the front.
And just like a V or something?
Just a V, a really low V.
This reminds me of like Ginger Rogers, kind of, if it were in a silk charmeuse, like a, you know.
I will make this out of like a flowy material, soft.
Yeah,
so
charmeuse.
when you reduce the fabric amount, it's so much easier to fold the pleats more accurately.
I think they did it in the 40s too. In the 40s, it was not in charmeuse, it was in a fabric like this.
This design is very versatile. You can even make it with, depending on the fabric you make it. It can go from being like a day dress, summer dress, to
Or a
an
slip.
evening wear. Yeah.
A slip would be very
And
pretty.
then again, we can, when we pin this last point of the lowest point of the, there it is, and trim the excess fabric on the motif, we can create a cascade. And cut, don't lose the seam allowance of the pleats area, so very important to have those seam allowances there left. something like this. And then too much fabric is difficult. Cut it off, make it less. This one will create like a, for example, from the end of the fabric right there. So cut it off like a triangle. Again, it's hard to, on the dress form this is kind of difficult. On the table, but this is what I want to remove. This will create, there's gonna be seam at the center front, and then this cascade will kind of hide the seam neatly, so it will be inside the folds there. Okay, so this is how it should come out somewhat. And then hem also need to be evened out. There's this cascade that droops too much, so some heap of it. The tip cut off.
Tina, you said you also have a video of this on a module?
It should be there, yeah. It's either this one or it's the radiating drapes from the book, but you have a choice either one. I just think that this is a little bit more advanced and a little bit more interesting. Okay, so this is now the front. All it needs is a good drawing and making all the pleats right. There is always a little bit of drawing to do on the table.
Will you duplicate the other side, or will you drape
It's
it?
exactly the same, yeah.
Okay.
Other side is exactly the same. You cut two of these pieces and then the back.
And there's
So
a
this
center
is-
seam there.
Okay. So what do you think?
Great.
It's lovely.
Is it like a cap sleeve or a tank or?
Yeah, sleeveless or long sleeve could be beautiful as well. Full long sleeve or 3/4 sleeve. Totally optional.
What do you think
what
about
kind
the
of
sleeves, the
sleeve
bell sleeves?
it could
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
That would be very cute.
Okay.
Pretty.
I think it's just an interesting style to work.